everybody, and welcome for the first time ever to my YouTube channel. Yay. I'm Natalie. You can call me Nat if you want to. Most people do. This has been a long time coming. I have talked about having my own channel for a really long time. I am not new to YouTube, though. I have been on YouTube now for 6 whole months. I do have a video podcast that I've been doing with my friend Sadie called Beauty by the Beaker. Check it out. I have been wanting to start my own channel to kind of go along with that. That content is pretty focused. And so I wanted to start something that was a little bit more personal. So here we are. I've been wanting to start my own channel for quite a while, basically since before I even started the podcast, but we'll get into all of that. For today's video, I really just want to give you guys a little bit of background on me, kind of reintroduce myself, just lay some groundwork, kind of put myself into some context here on this page. Before that, since this is my first video, if you are watching it, it would mean the world to me if you would like, subscribe, do all that stuff, because I have a lot of fun video ideas and I'm excited to show you all of them. So if you know anything about me already, it's that I am kind of a mathy science artist. Math and science have always just come super easily for me, but I've always just had a really strong passion for art. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in biochemistry and I got a minor in French. Je ne sais pas pourquoi, mais I just started taking French classes in high school and I mostly just did it because my parents said that it was a waste of time, and that was like my way of rebelling. So I continued taking French classes all through high school, and then I kept taking them into college. And it wasn't until I was like in advanced French classes with all return missionaries, spoiler alert, I'm from Utah, that I kind of realized how deep I had gotten into it, and I ended up minoring in it. That's sort of just the pattern. I mean, that's just one example, but that's kind of how I have moved throughout my life. So I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about everything that got me here on YouTube. So I recently broke up with my corporate job. I was managing a cosmetic formulation lab and I did love it, but I did love it. Some of you might know me from the industry. Some of you may know me from my podcast, maybe from school. I don't know. Maybe you're my friend. I do have some friends. Hi. One other thing that you need to know about me is that I have always been a serial hobby collector. I think it's probably ADHD, but I wasn't really diagnosed with that until about 2 years ago, which looking back on old photos and videos of myself, that's crazy that I wasn't, but hindsight 2020, right? I don't blame my parents at all because it is really hard to diagnose ADHD in girls, and I did follow the very stereotypical ADHD girl. Yeah, anyway. I kind of have this mantra that I've started repeating in my head that is that you can have anything in the world if you learn how to make it yourself. Obviously, this is a huge oversimplification, and the first thing that I want to make very clear is that I am privileged, and I do come from a very privileged background. So when I say you can have anything, it's definitely going to come across a little out of touch, which I totally understand, especially because I was raised in a house with 2 parents who were together and prioritized my education and prioritized giving me time to be a kid and grow up in that way. And then I got married and I have stayed around people who have really supported me in continuing to create and giving me the space and freedom to do so. So before we get into that much more, I do want to say just that I do understand how crazy it sounds. But yeah, I think the reason that this idea works for me is just because I don't ever put any sort of timeline on how long that thing is going to take. If we're being completely honest, I usually lose interest in that thing before I ever achieve it. So that's a big caveat to this mantra of mine is I work toward my goals And sometimes those change. And yeah, that's kind of how I got here. But because of that, I have also picked up a lot of hobbies. I definitely know like having the internet and having access to social media, it is definitely hard not to compare yourself to other people and see what everyone else has. And it was really kind of for me a way to cope with that, if that makes sense. Like seeing people who were more successful than I was or had things that I wanted instead of like wishing I had the money to buy it. I learned how to sew or, I learned how to woodwork or, again, I had people in my life who helped me achieve those things, but that is kind of my strategy that I've had so far is just kind of waking up every day and working toward my goal. And so far, that strategy has led me through college. It got me my bachelor's degree. It led me to what I thought was my dream job, but then I kept dreaming. So here we are. I was born and raised just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. Oh, can you tell? I have a gaggle of older brothers, but I am the youngest and I am the only girl. So, given that information, you can make whatever assumptions about me you want, but you're probably right. Video has always been a huge part of my life. From before I was even born, my dad always had a video camera in his hand and documented everything, even the most mundane daily tasks. He has videos of them, but it was great because as a kid, I loved performing. So we made a great team. As early as I can remember, I was stealing his camera to make videos and do photo shoots with my friends. This hasn't really changed much. I continued to do photo shoots with my friends. I still do photo shoots with my friends. So I have always had a very strong desire to create, but I just never really felt like I was good at it, which I don't know. Owen? Owen Spalding is ruining my video. Owen Spalding doesn't like to shout. Owen Spalding wants to be put on the mic. Owen Spalding has something to say. Growing up, my childhood best friend, still one of my very best friends, she came from an art family and she had a lot of just natural talent. And I came from a math family. And I had natural math talent, but I didn't really appreciate that until later. Much like my dad, I also documented basically everything, but didn't really do much editing with it. It was simply documenting. The first time I ever really started editing anything was I started making 21 Pilots fan edits on Vine, which is kind of funny now. Oh, wait, no, that's not actually true because I went so hard on Picnic. If you know, you know. But I went really hard on Picnic. I don't know who I thought I was. When I was in junior high and high school, anytime I was asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, what I wanted to do as a career, I always kind of switched back and forth between something in the arts or something more creative and a doctor. I think that the reason for this was because at the time, I just kind of thought science equals doctor. I didn't really think there was other science jobs besides medicine. So yeah, I got a CNA when I was in high school, fully planned on like going the medicine route. And when I started college, I started pre-med. During my first couple years of college, I worked at like a super mindless desk job and I watched a ton of YouTube videos. I was really into DIYs, travel vlogs, basically anything Sefia Nygaard. It's just like weird. Today we're turning every lipstick into one big lipstick. Anyway, I still love her. I watched a ton of makeup tutorials, which 2015, 2016, great time to be in the beauty space on YouTube. Just saying. Makeup was the first like creative hobby that I really pursued. It was the first one that actually made me feel like I was talented. I actually used my engagement as an excuse to buy all new high-end makeup for the first time. I planned on doing my makeup for my wedding, so I justified all of that. And after that, I just started practicing makeup a lot because, again, I wanted to look good on my wedding. And I looked, I do my makeup differently now, but I also got married in 2016. So, what can you say? And in typical Utah fashion, right after my husband and I got married, we drove across the country to do summer sales. I actually got hired as the office manager that summer, which was super sick because basically all I had to do was take stuff to the post office every day. But I had a lot of free time. So it was that summer that I got really into trying more creative makeup looks and eventually trying my first like FX makeup. It was just a skeleton. I'll show you. By the next year, I was basically all in on FX makeup. I was just doing like Halloween makeup. I did take this really far and I did make a bust of my own head and then built a custom prosthetic. So these are the kind of things that I'm hoping to document on this channel because I made a bust of my own head just for fun. Anyway, also around this time, I bought my very first camera of my own. I got a Sony a7 II, and I currently use a Sony a7 IV, so clearly I still love you, boo. This is what kind of kicked off my photography journey. I'll show you some of my really incredible shots that I took. This is to show you that you do get better at things. Some of my first images. Maybe one day I'll post some of my old videos, but after that, I got really into decorating cakes. I kind of had this as like a little side gig for a while. Here's some pictures of that. This one's kind of funny to me just because I specifically remember one time in junior high when naturally I was asked what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I said that I wanted to be a cake decorator. So I guess I did kind of come full circle on that one. If you've listened to the podcast, you know that I almost dropped out of college to pursue hair. I started thinking about spending the rest of my life in a doctor's office, and I kind of freaked out. And yeah, I just couldn't do that. So I went and talked to my academic advisor and learned that there were other scientific careers other than medicine. I ended up switching my degree to biochemistry, and from there just kind of told people that I was going into cosmetics because that's what I wanted to do. And again, just kind of that. For my last year of college, I worked as a tutor. I tutored most math and some general chemistry. Like I said, I was raised in a math family, and my mom was always just very enthusiastic about math. She presented it to us in a very fun way, like it was something exciting to figure out, and it was never presented as a challenge. I truly, truly think that this is what made me good at it. It was just this mentality that I had from such an early age. I also kind of find challenge in trying to explain things over and over until people do understand it. That's something that I actually really enjoy. So tutoring was so awesome and I really, really loved that. I wanted to be able to share that same excitement for learning that my mom had with other people. My mom actually became a math teacher and that was a hell that I had no interest in going to. So admittedly, I've never really been one for strategy. Maybe it's ADHD, but I sort of just take things a day at a time and keep working toward what I want. With school, I knew I wanted to end up in cosmetics, and whenever other classmates or professors would ask me what I planned on doing after graduation, I just said, ideally, I want to be a cosmetic chemist. It wasn't until less than a year before I graduated that things started to fall into place. I mentioned to one professor that I wanted to be a cosmetic chemist, and she said, oh, you have to talk to this other professor of yours because he is involved in the local cosmetic industry. I went and talked to him, and he introduced me to what's called the Society of Cosmetic Chemistry. I joined my local chapter as a student member. I actually got to go to 2 of the meetings before I graduated. At these meetings, I made a lot of connections and ultimately ended up finding my job through all of that. Right after graduating, I started working as a junior formulation chemist in a cosmetic R&D lab. The company that I was working for does contract manufacturing, which I think is great if you are just starting out in the industry because, at least for me, I got to work on all different types of cosmetics and topical OTC products and just got a really wide range of experience that I really appreciate. I think contract manufacturing is a great way to test out a bunch of different types of products and see like what product forms you're most interested in. Because again, there are so many different avenues when it comes to cosmetic formulation. This is a great place to start before you specialize, just to see kind of what's out there. It almost feels like that thing that they do in med school. Residency? A med school residency? It's kind of like that, but so different. During all of this, I still continued to practice my photo and video. My husband and I continued to travel. I did a lot of travel videos, most of which I haven't actually posted anywhere. After a couple years as a junior formulation chemist, I was promoted to the manager of that R&D lab, and I also loved that so much. It felt very reminiscent of my time tutoring. I loved being able to mentor and explain things to people. Met a lot of really great friends in the industry, but one in particular, some of you may know as Sadie BXB, but when we met, I knew her simply as Sadie. I'm sure you guys are going to see a lot of her on this channel because we still work together. Her and I instantly bonded over our love of gossip and science. We were just constantly chatting about all of the misinformation in the beauty space and kind of just how we wanted to be able to broadcast these conversations to everybody. But then we realized that we can't. Thus, Beauty by the Beaker was born. Our podcast combined everything that I loved into one beautiful union. It was chatting with my best friend about science and video. Sadie and I started talking about a podcast forever ago. Her and I have been such a great team because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not the best with timelines. So she keeps me on track, but she also gives me so much creative freedom, basically all the creative freedom. So she's perfect. I decided to build the whole studio. That was my biggest art project yet. Still my biggest art project I've ever done, probably. I had a very specific vision of what I wanted it to look like. I drew this little mock-up when I very first started. I was trying to pitch the idea to Sadie. Luckily, she trusted me. But I spent the next 6 months thrifting and DIYing like crazy so that I could make my vision a reality. And it's still a work in progress, but it is something I'm like really, really proud of. It did come out almost exactly like I envisioned it. Working on the studio also became such an important escape for me. 2025 was kind of a rough year. I had a lot of shedding to do and some big truths that I had to face. I'm excited to talk about all of that more, but yeah, I really just put all of that energy into building the studio, and I am so happy and so proud of the way that it has turned out. Last year, I actually ended up quitting my job very unexpectedly, and it just so happened to be right before the podcast came out. In hindsight, I'm very glad because not sure where I would have had time to put out a weekly video podcast. Our first episode of Beauty by the Beaker came out on September 6th of 2025, and I am so proud of what Sadie and I have created over there. So if you haven't yet, please go check that out. It's really exciting. I'm a lot more fun when she's here to joke with me. So it's all mostly like personal care stuff, not like makeup specifically. So no matter who you are, I'm sure we have some episodes that could be of interest to you. Go check it out. I realized just how important it was for me to be able to have freedom and creativity in my career, but I still very much wanted to work in formulation. So my career took another very unexpected turn this winter when I decided to launch Atomic Beauty Science. This is my consulting company. I am doing product development consultation. Here I am working more one-on-one with companies who want to have sort of an art science mentor, teammate. And it's been great. I really love it. I was not planning on doing this, but it just kind of worked out that way. And I am super excited about it because I am going to be using that as a way to kind of continue to show some behind the scenes. These two projects really do just combine all of my passions together in one place, which is really cool. So now for this channel, I just kind of plan on capturing everything, documenting it, taking you guys along for the ride as I continue to grow my business, continue to create, show you the behind the scenes of cosmetic formulation, what that process looks like for me, how I evaluate products, all of that, what actually goes into product development, what the industry is actually like, kind of just additional to what I'm already doing with Sadie on Beauty by the Beaker, but just a little bit more in the lab, behind the scenes. In addition to all of that, I am planning on making more just general science videos. Like I've mentioned, Beauty by the Beaker is all like beauty science. So on this channel, I'm going to be able to kind of go into all of those deep dives and tangents that we just don't have time for there. Basically, I just want this to be a space where I can make the videos that I want to make, kind of without the pressure of fitting any specific criteria, show you guys kind of my process, and hopefully inspire some of you guys to create as well and to ask questions and solve problems. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Again, please like and subscribe, leave a comment, let me know who you are, let me know what kind of things you want to know about me. If anything, no one asked. I'm aware.